good soup.
It's good to have you back, man. First recording in some time.
I know, I feel like I'm being left out, but now we're getting back into the video game aspect.
Yeah.
I played all night, watched a couple of videos, you know, and I'm getting ready for this.
Okay, yeah, that's dedication, I guess, right?
I'm pumped up, man.
Right.
I don't think you're excited as much. I thought you loved the game.
No, I do. I one of my favorites of all time. I love Part 2 as well. Hopefully they adapt that in the future.
I'm so excited for the TV show, man. I cannot wait.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here to do today. Welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup, everybody. I'm Beau Oliver, joined here today with Teddy.
What?
And like you just said, we'll be reviewing episode 1.
Wait, what?
Of The Last of Us on HBO Max.
You doing a bit?
The TV show.
You're joking, right? When did the show come out?
I don't joke. I'm not that funny.
I usually get a text from you saying, you know, we're going to do a review. The show's coming out.
Yeah, that was the text. I said we were going to review The Last of Us.
You didn't say TV show, though.
I figured you knew because the show just came out last night.
Well, no, I rely on you for the text to remind me about stuff like this.
Oh my god, now I have to be specific.
So I played the game all night for no reason. Is that what you're saying?
So if I texted you and said we're reviewing Life of Pi, you would have read the book?
No, I didn't know it was a book out on Life of Pi. Maybe I would have.
Oh, please understand.
Say who you can say who.
So you're telling me that you came here, you replayed The Last of Us Part 1, didn't watch the show because you misunderstood my text,
Yes.
and haven't seen the episode?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, unfortunately, Ted, we're going to have to give you the treatment.
Hey, I put this on you, man. Whoa, 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 whoa!
Okay, I guess we'll just start at the beginning. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review The Last of Us, Episode 1. Let's just get right into the review. The studio's kind of a mess right now, so you're going to clean this up, by the way. So, Episode 1, titled When You're Lost in the Darkness, directed by Craig Mazin and written by Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, who famously wrote the first 2 games of The Last of Us that came out on PlayStation 2013, and then the second game was 2020. So, much anticipated. Obviously, it's got its fan base, but here's an opportunity to expand the audience of this story, which, time when it came out, it was praised for being very cinematic, and I think it's proven to be influential. Obviously not the first cinematic game, but you're seeing, you know, the games that followed it, they're taking that similar approach. So it was just ripe for an adaptation. And I remember a few years back, Sony had announced a movie and Maisie Williams was attached, and that never came to fruition, but here we are. And I think this is the perfect way to tell this story. It was a 10-15 hour game, so you tell it through a miniseries. Or it looks like they're going to go into the future with multiple seasons, if it's a success. But this first episode, to me, it was pretty much a perfect table setter, and a great example of what you can do with an adaptation by not only being faithful, but expanding your story and showing us different avenues and different corners of this world, and foreshadowing what's to come. I absolutely loved it. I found it to be a riveting hour and 30-minute episode of television.
Long episode,
yeah. Yeah, it was. I couldn't stop watching it. And even though I knew where it was going, it felt like I was experiencing it for the first time, especially those first 40 minutes. I thought that was done so incredibly well.
Yeah, no, it was scary. Even driving here, like, I had the sense of, like, what if it happens right now? What do I do? I'd be dead so fast.
I was, when they showed the picture of George Bush, so it's like 2003. I guess, LeBron's about to be drafted. I guess that never happens.
Yeah, LeBron, there's no LeBron.
No LeBron.
Yeah.
It doesn't break the scoring record. And I'm just 10. We're both 10. Definitely dead.
Oh, 100%.
2023.
Sir.
Well, looks like we're close to...
Second clicker has entered the Pentagon. It's so funny, this episode, like an hour and a half episode, and we always say that video game adaptations have to be done on television, because you had to fit all that gameplay, all that story into what essentially would be, if you wanted to do a film, basically around the same runtime. Imagine trying to fit all of that into this runtime, where we're just scratching the surface with this episode.
Right.
That's why it's just the perfect medium for these type of stories. And like you said, that initial setup, even though people who have played the game know what's going to happen, like seeing Joel and Sarah and Tommy, like, to have to go through that again was just fucking heartbreaking. I think they adapted it perfectly, and they added some things. That whole sequence when he finally comes home and they kind of are trying to figure out what's going on was super tense.
Yeah, the old woman who is the first infected that we see, that was super scary. And those are the horror elements that are, you know, whenever you tell a zombie story, but her crawling on the floor and running after them. But after a while, I stopped thinking about the game and just sort of embraced this newer version of the story. I was trying to, you know, oh, did that happen in the game? That didn't happen. But yeah, that setup was really well done. And there's an eeriness there, so you know, you hear on the radio that something's happening in Jakarta and, you know, they're riffing back and forth. Where is that? The Middle East? And then, you know, the police on the street, the ambulances, the fire trucks going by. The woman who closes the store early tells Sarah to go home. So all of that table setting for the outbreak was done so well. And also just sort of the regularness of their relationship. I feel like so many writers, when they're adapting stories, or when they're telling stories where there's going to be a loss in the family, they just show us father, daughter, and we're supposed to feel this sort of connection because they're related. And then sometimes it doesn't always hit. But this almost brought me to tears. And like we've said, we knew that it was coming. But it was because of just how casual their relationship was. It felt like any other day. Yeah, Joel's birthday, but he has to work to double, and she goes out of her way to get his watch fixed. It's a heartwarming moment. Obviously, they have a great relationship there, father and daughter. So when that loss does happen, once again, it's ripping out your heart all over again.
Joel not liking pancakes is borderline character assassination, though.
Well, no, in the game, they say he's a waffle guy.
But, like, you could be a waffle guy. You can't just spit on pancakes.
You'd be surprised, man. Those waffle guys are extremists.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Especially the Belgian waffle freaks.
Well, that's a different breed. I just enjoy both. Both
Okay.
delicious. But yeah, even like their relationship, you can tell something. Like you could tell something's there, or like obviously there's some history until where they got to that point. It's not like your campy father-daughter lovey-dovey. Like they have their own unique relationship, and obviously we might get more into that as the episodes go on. But yeah, it doesn't take a lot to make your audience be invested, especially when you see a daughter die in a father's arms. But all the little things they did leading up to that made it even more impactful for that moment. And that's still one of the scenes that is like burned in my memory from the game, is when not Fedry, but like the federal agent has to come up with the decision. I think he did a good job too. Like when he's talking on the radio, you can kind of get the sense that it's not going to end well. He's like, "Yes, sir." He's like the way he responds to the radio. Yeah, the shot with the plane coming, everything.
Oh, yeah.
The plane shots were the most frightening ones, because that's always the scariest thing, because it's just something that can just cause so much chaos. But the noise it makes, like even earlier in the episode when she looks up, and I think it's still daylight at this time, but the plane's just going overhead, it just had that sense that something's not right here.
Yeah, the drive into town was so scary. Nico Parker is the actress who played Sarah. I just thought her facial expressions were really selling it. And of course, Pedro Pascal, coming into this, we knew that he had the charisma and the gravitas to play a character like Joel. And I think they even mentioned it in the episode that he's Clint Eastwood archetype. I think he nailed the Southern accent, but it was her performance that really sells that first 40 minutes, because it is a young child experiencing this, and it's just pure chaos. And like you said, all the way that they set it up with the sound design, those planes coming overhead, the helicopters, that military guy did give a good performance. And even Gabriel Luna as Tommy, you know, when he's first introduced in the beginning of the episode, you know, the humor, it's well written, you know, they have this nice back and forth between the three of them. So all of that setup, to me, was just, it blew me away. And I thought that the direction by Craig Mazin was, you know, he did the same thing for Chernobyl. It's a very serious story, but it can still look really pretty.
Yeah.
And there were so many pretty shots. And that also carried over to the 20-year jump. It is a post-apocalyptic world. We see Boston, it's come to ruins. But still, the directing, the
Red
lighting.
Sox haven't won a World Series yet.
Right, yeah, no, the curse is still there.
Yeah.
Bambino's holding on strong. But that world, there was so much great cinematography, so many different still shots that you can pull from it. The lighting throughout this episode, it looked so incredible on my TV. So not only was it great storytelling, but it just looked really good from a visual perspective as well. And that's what you get when you get a guy like Craig Mazin coming off of Chernobyl. I'm going to say, until I'm blue in the face, these adaptations, They're not that. Oh, yeah. Even more purple.
Yeah.
These adaptations don't have to be so crummy. Get good people who, who better to get to adapt this source material than the guy who fucking wrote the game, right? So this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a really solid premiere episode.
Yeah, and once we get to the 20-year jump, I think the setup, the post-apocalyptic type city or civilization, we've seen it a number of times, but the way it was kind of set up with the rations and the way they're working, it was fun to kind of like piece together in my own head, like, what would it actually look like, or how would society function if an event like this actually happens? So I think it really, like, even seeing the city streets and the people doing their day to day, like, there was kind of some normalcy to it, but everything around it is just kind of broken down, and you can tell like the political structure is a mess too, with the Fedra agents and the Fireflies having this, them describing Fedra as a military dictatorship, and them kind of the freedom fighters. So that dynamic is something that I think is just going to be fun to watch play out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and they did more setup than they do in the game with the Fireflies. It's a bit of a mystery when you first encounter Ellie. But here they show that, they've got a leader, Marlene. She's the leader of the Boston sector, and she's got her underlings, and they're making plans. They're maneuvering in the shadows. And that was a great battle scene when Tess is being interrogated by Robert, and then the wall just fucking explodes. Yeah. So that's something that wasn't in the game, and something that I did appreciate, just the tension between these so-called freedom fighters and the military. And that first scene with the young boy who is infected, bone-chilling stuff, and you see that there is some normalcy here.
Kid thought he was gonna get a Happy Meal and some Hot Wheels.
Right, she was selling him just heaven on earth. And then when the woman can't bring herself to put him in the pit, and right there, that's such an important moment for Joel, having to experience his daughter dying in his own arms. It's made him numb to that sort of thing, so he can do it. And the way that he just, not even putting the body down gently, just throws it in there like it's trash. His only focus is surviving and making as much money as he can.
Well, even like the things he's willing to do and to make money, it's to kind of survive. You saw him with the Fedra agents, him selling him like the painkillers or whatever, and they mentioned that that's what they basically manufacture, bullets and pharmaceuticals. So America really hasn't changed that much.
No,
but
still have a drug problem.
Yeah, so but yeah, he's kind of lost. He has that humanity taken away from him. He's kind of just trying to get by. He'll clean shit, but he'll also deal on the side just to kind of better his position, or as we learn, to get a battery to try to find Tommy.
Right, yeah, so Tommy's out there. He's across the country, so that's his end goal. But like you said, he's not only is he taking on all these different odd jobs, literally shoveling the shit, but he's also working as a smuggler. And Anya Torvis, Tess, to me, she may have been the standout performance, because she was just so believable as that grizzled leader character. They always hinted at a romantic relationship between Joel and Tess in the games, but here it's a bit more explicit. So I really appreciated their relationship and just the overall vibe of that character. She's someone you want to follow into battle. She's the one making the plans. She's the one that agrees with Marlene to smuggle Ellie out. So I was very impressed by her performance, and I was impressed by Bella Ramsey. Once again, a different introduction to the character where she's being held by the Fireflies. I did wonder if they could have done a better job revealing that she can't get sick. Felt like it kind of came and went, and I wonder if people who didn't know that about Ellie's character, it's probably easy to pick up on, but I thought that could have been a bigger moment for the audience. But I thought she was really good as Ellie, and she had those similar vibes. Feisty young girl, got that, cursing everybody out, just trying to stab everyone with the knife as soon as she gets an opportunity.
And I think that moment, too, plays better in the game, especially when Joel finds out, like we found out at the end of this episode. Yeah, a couple things around Ellie like that, and I think the decision just to kind of foist her on Joel seemed a little bit, I feel like someone watching it could have just been like, why are they just giving the key to everything just on a whim?
Right.
But yeah, Bella Ramsey as a character, I think did a great job so far, and I can't wait to just see her come into that character with Pedro as Joel and kind of form that relationship that, we've seen in the trailers and kind of hint at, and obviously we've played throughout the games. Because
and that final shot of them just going into the great beyond, and you had the one radio guy who says, it's not the infected that you have to fear. There's slavers, there's raiders, there's all types of shit out there. And that was what was so appealing about the game is, the zombies were super scary, and you get that one jump scare where you see the dude infected on the wall. But it was all the other elements of the world. That's what makes it so scary, because it's about how humanity is going to react. And we get a little glimpse of it here in this quarantine zone, but they're headed into the Wild West. And now I can't fucking wait. I want to go back and play the game.
I was thinking the same thing. And even thinking about it too, just seeing how the society is set up, it's like, obviously you kind of lean towards the Fireflies from this episode because of the way Fedra kind of act and kind of the restrictions put on and the curfews and the military type martial law that's going on. But then you realize the severity of the situation and how if anyone infected comes in, they had to be so precautious that everyone can die. So it's kind of like trying to balance that and your own morals while watching to decide like what is the best way to do this, because there probably really is no right answer.
Right.
But you kind of just got to do your best to survive.
Yeah, and the martial law, when they were having the public hangings, that's something that wasn't in the game.
That's not like...
Trying to keep everybody in line.
It's pretty shitty.
Right. Right, but these are the circumstances, and you see the signs everywhere. The one sign that showed you how long you have until you're infected, depending on where you're bitten. So, and a lot of Easter eggs from the game. The loading screen menu for the multiplayer when Joel is looking over the map just made me want to go into a game of factions, game of interrogation. I thought that was a great way to bring in some of the music from the game, and even the opening credits. Similar to House of the Dragon, sort of Game of Thrones, that drifting, wandering, showing the fungi developing and growing and mutating.
Dude, I'm not like that first scene of the way they opened with like the two doctors on the talk show or whatever.
Great opening.
Well, I'm scared of mushrooms now, man.
That scared the shit out of me, and it was such a brilliant way to talk directly to the audience. This is what the infection is. We're going to lay this out to you very plainly, and it's an interview from 1968. It's got that old style, the old setup, but it is sort of bone-chilling when he does finish his monologue and he explains this. And that's another aspect that I always loved about the game, is that there was an attempt at making the outbreak scientific in a certain regard. And they snuck in a little climate change commentary there. What if the Earth heats up a bit? So yeah, that opening sequence, like I said, talking directly to the audience, filling us in, some nice exposition, but you sort of forget about that. That's what was so good about this episode, is the world is so believable. There's nothing about this world that sort of threw you off that this isn't actually happening. They brought it to life brilliantly. Evokes that sort of visceral fear, imagining yourself in this situation.
Yeah, and even, I mean, with Ellie and Marlene, those like the moments, brief, but like you kind of get the idea of, some shed of hope with Ellie. And
also some desperation.
Right, yeah.
They're down so bad, they're running out of resources, running out of men, and they're getting ready to abandon this sector because of Ellie, because of that hope, like you mentioned. So they do balance that really well in the game, the ideas of hope and despair, and how quickly you can fall into despair. Yeah, those were good scenes. The actress who played Marlene was really solid as well. Her name is Meryl Dandridge. And like I said, a bit more insight into that character than we got in the game.
Yeah, I think with like the Fireflies, it's just an interesting... Like you said, in the game, there wasn't really... There were always a looming presence, and you see the artwork and the graffiti of the symbol. But I kind of like that little insight into them with their headquarters and the different members and what they're really trying to do here. I guess what happened there? I was a little confused. I guess the deal went wrong.
Yeah, I guess it was something where Robert maybe was trying to fuck them over and they got into a shootout.
Robert.
That was a fun part in the game, going to find him and beating him up.
Get the fuck back!
You just want to talk, Robert?
Or even Joel when he's just pounding that guy, just fucking hitting A.
Oh, dude, that may have been the best scene of the episode. The way that Ellie, her face watching that, it seemed like she was impressed, intimidated.
And she looked a little like shocked, like what the fuck's going on here? And I think even that kind of reflecting what Sarah saw in Joel when he first beats the shit out of the old lady.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like,
fucking
what are
wrenched
you
her.
doing? But like also, I guess this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Because they showed Ellie that she's got that fight in her when she goes to stab Joel when they first meet, and she does stab the military guy without even giving them the heads up. So she puts Joel in that sort of impossible position, and that PTSD comes in, and he just can't let up. He was like Jon Snow punching Ramsay in that scene. But he was terrifying. The look on his face, the way he's breathing, just gasping for air, and realizing what he just did in front of this girl. That moment, like I said, probably the best moment of the episode for me.
I also appreciated the little banter when they're in the underground and they're climbing the ladders. I felt like the back and forth they had, just little lines, kind of felt like, you know when you're playing a game and you're just walking through a field and the characters just say things back and forth?
Yeah, killing time.
It kind of felt like that. And I think little things like that, subtle connections to the video game through, I don't want to say meaningless, but just like little back and forths and things like that. The kind of stuff that you might overlook when it comes to the story as a whole, but really make it feel grounded and the characters having an authentic connection with each other.
Yeah, it seems like video game writers are so much better at writing that banter, specifically Naughty Dog, because in the Last of Us game it was there, but also in the Uncharted games, there's so many great
just
back and forths.
I think when take a normal show or movie and there's two characters walking, I feel like that's the time it's like, well, maybe we can throw in some exposition here, or maybe one character can go on a monologue kind of explaining certain things and things we need to get in for the story because we have maybe a limited amount of time and we need to kind of get this in. Here's a perfect time to throw it in. When in reality, two people are walking or going up a ladder, it's kind of like, oh, look at that tree.
Right, yeah, or Joel giving her the construction lesson.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, are we there yet? I wonder what time we're going to get there. Shut up. Kind of walk around.
And even the writing when it was setting up the story, like when she's asking him about the books, the songs from the 60s, the 70s, and then you hear the song from the 80s, so she's able to crack it. And you could see in Joel that he's a bit impressed by her intelligence. So they are sowing the seeds of their relationship. And also with Tess as well. Like I said, I was so impressed by her performance. So the three of them together were great. I don't think that they could have casted them any better. And all the actors really did deliver. And like you said, there were a couple of moments in this episode that made me laugh. And organic moments.
You my fucking mom or something?
So the writing was very solid. Everything about this episode was pretty much perfect to me. Little nitpicks here and there, but a great starter.
Oh, that was funny when I forget her name, but she's like, no, I'll take her. And Marlene's like, you don't have a fucking ear.
Yeah, at first I was like...
and just goes there and she just doesn't have an ear.
No, she just got her fucking ear ripped off.
Yeah.
Well, that's great too. You know, a little... taking a page out of Lynn Ramsey's book of not showing this bloody encounter. You just see this woman and she's missing an ear and you're thinking, man, what the fuck just happened here? How did they get out of this one? Fucking Robert, that bastard. Alright guys, before we finish this episode, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Smile Brilliant. Hey look, I'm a floating head. Give me a minute of your time and you'll learn all you need to know about teeth whitening gimmicks. Let's start with LED whitening lights, a novelty item that doesn't enhance your results, it merely makes peroxide work faster, but not better. Next is whitening strips, a popular choice, and while effective, they can lead to stains along gum lines, crevices, and do not reach the molars. After whitening, you'll find your remaining stains more visible. Not good. Charcoal sounds good on paper, but it's abrasive and wears down tooth enamel. And finally, whitening toothpaste, a product that works only on surface stains, and like charcoal, is abrasive. So you're probably asking yourself the question, what works? Well, I'll show you. Head on over to smilebrilliant.com and check out their custom-fitted teeth whitening trays. Simply order the kit, make your impressions, and ship it off to Smile Brilliant's lab. Their lab is digital, so your impressions are stored on file for easy reordering in case you lose your trays. Shipping is free, and results are backed by a money-back guarantee. Plus, their whitening products are far less expensive than alternatives found at the dentist, so you can brighten your smile without breaking the bank. Smile Brilliant also has you covered with teeth care products ranging from mouth guards, electric toothbrushes, whitening gel, water flosser, and more. In addition to that, you can receive 20% off your order when using promo code NERDSOUP at checkout, so don't wait. Head on over to their website, choose the products that are right for you, and take care of your teeth.
Soup.
What did you think about Pedro Pascal's accent? I know that was big for you coming in. We haven't heard him say Ellie yet.
No, that's
Ellie.
all I care about. I don't care about an accent. No, I think he really embodied Joel. Like, even there's like an edit going around of just flashes from the little footage we have of Joel from the game and Pedro's portrayal, and it's seamless.
Yeah.
Just in the look, the way they carry themselves, and obviously the more we get to know this character, the more we can make those connections. But yeah, you're not gonna know until you get that first Ellie. That's the real test. I hope they save it. Or like you think he's gonna say it, but he just doesn't.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Captain America saying Avengers Assemble.
Yeah.
He's just gonna be like credits. Yeah, no, I thought the jadedness of the character, the weariness of the character, it was all there. And his performance when he's younger, 36-year-old Joel, guess that makes him the best looking 56-year-old of all time. But when he has to be a bit more animated and dramatic, and I mean, when he's holding his daughter, to me, he sold that so well. Like I said, it almost brought me to tears a second time, even though I knew it was coming. But just the desperation of trying to pick her up and telling her that, we got to get you out of here, and just denying it in the moment, unable to accept that. And then all of that emotion just comes out of him. I mean, he's been on such a tear over the last few years, it feels like, since he was in Game of Thrones. And he's got such a wide range of acting abilities. A lot of those acting abilities were on display in this first episode. So
I like how, obviously they probably will later on in the season, he'll talk about it, but I kind of like how they didn't rush that. Like, he doesn't really, we cut to it 20 years later, and just through his actions, him still having the watch, and obviously the flashback, like, you could tell how it's affected him without him, or a different character, like if Tess, just brought up his daughter or something like that. It's like, you don't need to do that. You could just do it through visuals.
Yeah. Yeah, they did such a good job at that. The performances and the directing, the writing. And we also got some hints, some name drops of characters from the games, Bill and Frank. So that's going to be really fun. Nick Offerman playing Bill. Like I said, I'm so excited for the rest of the season to see how they're going to adapt some of these bigger moments and what they're going to add in. But I think you can argue that in terms of world building, this is a bit better than the first few hours of the game. And we're already getting to that territory. I'm not trying to get too hung up on comparisons, but I was so immersed in this world, like I said, as if I was experiencing it for the first time all over again. And that was probably what's most impressive about this show. I think with adaptations, whether if it's a book or a video game and you're watching it and you sort of forget about what it's based on, that's the mark of a good adaptation.
I mean, from the looks of the what's to come after the episode, just seeing the in-between, obviously, they kind of allude to, outside the quarantine zone, it's kind of no man's land, but there's a certain beauty to that. So I'm just kind of anticipating getting into these different landscapes and environments and just kind of really immersing into this world outside of that quarantine zone.
Yeah, those first 40 minutes, man, that was such a great prologue. There were so many moments where I was whispering to myself, oh shit, like when she's in class and she notices the kid twitching.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little signs. Or when the dog, man, I feel so bad for that beautiful border collie. When he notices that something's wrong with the old woman, that was super unsettling and creepy as well. So all those little things really worked for me. And then the big moments were great as well. The two that stand out are, when the plane does crash.
Dude, yeah.
That was just, it's always so terrifying. One of my irrational fears is that a plane is going to fall on my house, because we got the airport right there.
Bro thinks he's Walter White.
So, yeah, I mean, overall, high marks all around for me.
No, yeah, I definitely think it sets the table wonderfully, and I think this is a good episode for people who are completely unaware of the game or have no idea what's to come. I think it's a good episode to get invested in. I think you can definitely grow an attachment to Joel and sympathize with him while also seeing Ellie pop up and just being intrigued with that character and what's to come in that regard. So I do wonder what people who have no connection to the game thought. Because for me and us and many others, we know what's coming, and we probably look at it as yeah, this is perfect in terms of a table setter. But for the success of the show and the long-term future of it, it's going to depend on those people who are just tuning in for the first time and whether they're invested and if they're on board after this episode. This doesn't feel like your prototypical zombie Walking Dead type show. It feels different.
It feels like there's just more than meets the eye, that there's more layers to it. I don't want to go so as far as conspiracy, because the series in the games is still continuing, and there's hints as to where the story is going. But like you mentioned, with intrigue with Ellie, you want to know what's her deal. You know, what are their plans for her? The same thing with Marlene. She's in charge of this organization that you'd imagine is like a spider web. With its different factions throughout the country, so how deep does that go? And the same thing with Joel and Tommy. When was the last time they saw each other? What's Tommy's deal? What is he up to? Is he in trouble? And Tess just being awesome, right? Just being gritty. That's an elbow grease character, you know? The first time you saw her, when they showed her face, I was like, what the hell? She got beat down.
Well, everyone that's alive that was born before the outbreak, you gotta have a certain amount of grit. And I do like, they talk about it in the games too, and they do mention it here, like, people born after the outbreak. They're just not the same.
Yeah, they're assholes.
Yeah.
She said they didn't learn how to argue. Just throwing punches.
That would suck, though. That's the only world you ever know. Never had Madden.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound great. Never had one?
Madden.
No Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Right. No Six Flags. Little Six Flags guy dancing around. They don't even know that.
Don't even know about
that.
that.
SpongeBob references.
Damn.
Yeah, they're probably fucked. Just in the head. Bunch of weirdos.
If you're feeling lost.
You tell me to look for the light and I'll break your jaw.
It's crazy that they didn't get to see LeBron's 48-point performance. That sucks. That would have killed me.
I was gonna say, like, did like Mr. Brightside come out yet? Like, what do they got?
No Avatar.
No Avatar.
Yeah, I got that shitty ass movie they were watching in the beginning.
What's their Avatar? I like to think Peter.
Still Titanic.
What, 2003?
He got it off. He got it off. Yeah. He didn't win the Oscar, but the movie came out.
I like to think that they have that.
Yeah.
And Titanic. Oof.
You don't like Titanic? You don't like naked women?
I mean, that's their movie. No, like that's their big deal.
Yeah, no, that does kind of suck.
Yeah.
But at least their lasting memory of Billy Zane is, wow, this guy's gonna be a star.
He'll never go bald. See that head of hair?
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are locks. They're flowing. Poor guy.
And what was the song at the end? It was
Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode, yeah.
I forget
that's
what
80s,
the song
right?
was.
I was trying to think, I'm like, that's 80s?
Yeah, that's definitely 80s.
So
Depeche Mode, yeah.
So Terror. Something bad's happening.
Something bad, yeah. Well, that's what we want, right? We don't want in the 60s. Summer wind.
Yeah,
that's boring.
What's that the code for? Boring?
Ice cream? I love that. I would love that idea that in the post-apocalyptic world, the ice cream man's still working. Still has all the stuff he needs to make ice cream.
No, that's where you gotta go. Like, he's serving out cones, but shit goes down, hits a button.
Yeah.
Bulletproof shit goes over the thing.
Gatling gun.
Yeah. That's
Laser.
who you want to be with.
Yeah.
Turns into the... What is that game? Metal Gear Solid?
Twisted Metal?
Twisted Metal?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, Twisted Metal. That ice cream truck.
Yeah, or like Woody Harrelson when he's defending all the Twinkies.
Yes, yeah.
All right, guys, that does it for this review of The Last of Us Episode 1 on HBO. It's looking like it's going to be a good first season, a solid adaptation. You know, these video game adaptations are always tricky, but it looks like we're in good hands here. So for Aaron the Nerd Suit Monkey, I am Beau Oliver, signing off. Hope Teddy's all right.
Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Suit Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcasts, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're gonna do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Beau spelt your name wrong in the credits.